Hello and welcome back. What happens if you've got a bent airbrush needle? What are your options? How can you repair it? And is there any way you can save the extra expense of buying a new needle? That's the subject of today's video. Let's get started. Okay then, if you watched a previous episode of the Airbrush Show, you will know that I reviewed this Iwata Eclipse and I showed some shots of the damage it had sustained in its long life here at scalewarmachines. In that video I showed some of the components that I'd replaced, including some damaged nozzles, but also some damaged and bent airbrush needles. In this video I'd like to investigate whether you can repair bent needles and how you go about it. And the main focus of the video will be this. It's called the Sharpen Air tool and it's designed to repair your bent needles. I've had this for quite a few years and I thought it was time to make a video on it. But I'll also be talking about what you do if you find a bent needle is changing your factory setting and precision on your airbrush and giving you terrible results. What I'm going to do is change back my Iwata Eclipse to the broken components, including a bent needle, and we're going to see how it performs. But what I should say on an airbrush like this Eclipse, if you drop it and ding the needle and it is bent, it could very well damage the nozzle as well as you withdraw it. So if you suspect you've got a bent needle, be very careful about pulling it back through the airbrush, because then it could damage your nozzle as well, and that becomes much more costly, and something like the Sharpen Air can't help you there. Alright, let me just take this apart, put some damaged components into it, and we'll see how it sprays. I'm also going to be looking at repairing a bent needle on this, which is the Gaahleri Swallowtail. That one, the nozzle should be in good shape, but it's got a bent needle. This one, I've got some bent needles, some damaged nozzles, and we're going to try different combinations. So first of all, let me pick the most bent needle. So this one here is the most damaged, and I'll show you some shots of it. It's not massively damaged, but enough to demonstrate the adverse effects and demonstrate the Sharpen Air tool. Let's have a look at some close-ups of the damage in question. There's the bent one, and you should be able to see right at the tip of the needle it's got an upward curve on it. I'll show you some more examples, and you can see the difference. One on the right has a very obvious hook to it. Let's pair that with a broken nozzle, and if it's safe to do so, I'll also pair it with a completely fine nozzle from the Iwata range. I don't think it's damaged enough to ruin a nozzle if you pull it back, but you can't be too careful. Here, by the way, is the nozzle I'm putting in. You should be able to see it's got a little dent in it around the edge there and a flat spot. And I'll use the same paint and mix I used in a previous video and spray through it, and we can compare. So already you can see the splatter there. That's a classic symptom. It's stippling. Now partly that's the thick paint. I'm doing that deliberately because it's accentuating the problem. But you can see all sorts of issues there. Paint gathering in the cap and then splatting. We've got pulsing and various problems. Just going to add a bit of thinners, mix it up and just see if that helps. It's slightly better when diluted, as you can see. If we try and do fine lines, it's okay. Testament to the quality of the airbrush, but it's certainly not spraying as per factory settings and as per the last time I used this Eclipse. I'm going to put a better quality nozzle in. I'm going to risk an Iwata nozzle, and that should be in good shape. Okay, I didn't feel any resistance, so I think we didn't damage the nozzle. Okay, let's see how this sprays. Definitely better. So the bulk of the damage was done by the nozzle, but we can see it's not perfect. But it's still possible to shoot some fine lines, similar to what it would do out of the factory. But let's say we want to improve this. Let's see if we can get rid of that bend in the needle. And we'll cover some of the options. Option 1 is to take something like a piece of glass, something super flat. And what you can do, I'm not going to do it with this one, I might do it with another needle, but what you can do is you can very gently roll it back and forwards on the tip of the taper of the needle. And using the glass, you can attempt to roll out the bend. This is our baseline needle that we've done all the spraying with. If I take another one, let me show you the state of it. It's not terrible, but it's not perfect. What I tend to do in a case like that is I just very gently rotate it with these fingers, apply downward pressure on the taper of the needle, and just keep rolling it. And what that can do, if the bend isn't too bad, it can get rid of any hook or rasp on the very tip of the needle. Let's zoom in and have a look. So you have to be delicate, and you're trying to just get rid of any bend. Just trying to twist and even it out. Is that going to work? Maybe, if you're very lucky. It could help you out and just get rid of a little hook in your needle, but you have to be very gentle and hope that it works. There are a couple of other options, not necessarily ones that I use, but they are out there and they are available to you. One is to use cardboard, and if you notice you've got the corrugations of the cardboard, what you want to do is place the needle in one of those corrugations, just fold it over, and you gently pull it through. By doing that and twisting, there's a chance that you'll compress any bend and realign it. So that's worth trying as a DIY option. Likewise, some people advocate using a cutting mat like this, something that's got a tiny bit of spring but is also firm at its core. And there again, you just roll or drag and roll the needle. And that certainly seems to work. This needle is from an HPCH and it's slightly bent. And it does seem to be getting straightened. Some people talk about using bits of wood or even popsicle or lolly sticks, putting it in between and rolling. And finally, some people recommend using the smooth edge of a coin, taking the needle, getting it flat to the base and rolling the coin onto the point, which I could see working as well. There is one more option, of course, which is a dedicated tool, something designed specifically to straighten your needles. So this is the Sharpen Air tool. I got it from airbrushes.com and you can get it in the UK from them. And it's a fairly simple tool. You'll see it's essentially made of two parts, and along here you've got holes, and that's where you're going to insert your needle. You're going to work your way along, and inside here you can actually unscrew it, and I'll show you, are some sharpening stones. When you follow the instructions, you can actually swap these around for different sized needles. You insert your needle into the hole and work your way along to sharpen. These have been around for quite a few years, at least 8 years. They've got their own YouTube channel as well if you want to follow, and a website, and they're available in different colours, and I'll put the pricing in the description. Other than that, it's fairly simple. It's the industry's first handheld device designed for repairing bent or damaged airbrush fluid needles. And it also comes bundled with instructions, obviously, and a little bit of micro mesh style abrasive paper for final finishing. When it comes to smaller needles, let's say you're 0.3, something like that, it's designed that you use all these steps here. What you do is you insert your needle very gently, you don't apply too much pressure, and you just rotate. Give it a few twists. And it's designed that each stage will gradually refine and reshape the cone or the taper of the needle. So you work your way along. Next one, same thing. Give it a twist. And what I'll do is I'll insert some cutaway shots of what's actually inside here. But there are inset stones with a very specific angle. And so when you go in and just twist, you are gradually sharpening and polishing the taper. Let's take a quick look. So here's after step 1 and 2, and let me give you some macro shots. This has quite a significant bend on it, and the Sharpen Air won't really work as optimally if there's quite a hook on your needle. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rotate the hook a little using the glass technique just to take some of that bend out. I'm going to go back to the Sharpen Air now, having tried to bend out as much of the curve as possible, and you insert the needle and rotate with your fingers. About 8 turns, withdraw it, and then you can move on to the next step. You can feel it touching the abrasive as it goes in and hitting the diamond stone. Here's how it is so far. That's after steps 1 and 2. You can then progress to steps 3 and 4, just being gentle. That one you can feel is a lot more abrasive because it's taking out the second half of the taper. And then finally, the last bit. And there it is. You can actually see it has been sharpened. So I'm going to switch to macro. So you can see that the abrasion has been at work on this part of the needle, and the main tip has been straightened. What I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat the process one more time, just very gently, to optimize it. That is definitely better. You can polish out any scratches, but it's certainly better. Now you can polish the main taper as much as you want and try and refine it even more, but I'm happy enough with that, so I'll put that back in and we'll spray some paint through it, see how it performs. But it certainly sprays well enough for a quick field repair. Okay, now what if you have a slightly bigger needle, in this case something like a 0.5 from this Studio G from Gaahleri. Well, I did bend a needle when I first got this, so I should have a bent needle, and we can examine what you do on something like the Gaahleri Studio G Swallowtail. We've also got a needle with a very discernible rasp to it. It's got a hook. I can actually feel it when I run a glove over it. I could feel it right there. Let me show you then the innards of this and what you do to get a good result with a thicker needle. I won't demonstrate the spraying again with this Studio G Swallowtail, but you can imagine it's a considerably reduced spray performance when you've got something like a bent needle. I'll leave that one slightly dirtier so you can see the difference. But if you compare, one on the right has clearly been stubbed. It's got a flat, bent over appearance. Hopefully you can see that. So that's really taken quite a knock. You can see it's almost like a T. I'm really not that optimistic that the Sharpen Air could deal with something that gravely damaged, but let's see. Now, with something larger like a 0.5, the idea is you use the first hole, and that's angled perfectly for a 0.5, but what you can do to get a smoother finish is you'll see inside you can swap around some of the stones. You can undo the screws. So inside you've got a bunch of different stones, 4 in all at different angles. And so you can flip them over as well, like so, to increase life. And what that does, you can see very clearly there, they're at very different angles, and that's what gets you the angle. You can screw it back together. And so for something like this, you then insert it. You can feel it bite. Give it a twist. It's actually taken some of that T off, so let's keep going. Definitely smoother, but there's still a little bit of a catch when I run my glove over it, so I'm going to keep going. So what I'm going to do is take one of the more abrasive ones and that will give you the more abrasive cut. I'm then going to give it a few more twists on this one. And you just keep going until you feel that you've taken away the worst of the hook in the tip. And there again, for that final polish, I'll swap out these number 2 with number 4. Stage 2. And the final touch is just to give everything a little bit of a sand. I mean, given how hooked that was, I think it's pretty good. So I'll zoom in there, you can see it. So we have gone from a completely bent over needle to one that is a lot flatter and more pointed. Is this going to solve all your airbrush woes? Not necessarily. It could get you out of trouble. You have to think about the cost of buying this tool. I mean, it is clearly a lifetime tool. Once you've bought it, it's always there, and it can certainly get you out of a pickle, and it can help you. So I'm just going to insert this back in the old Studio G. There we have it, some options for you. Quite a neat product. You have to decide whether you think it's worth it. I think this is essential for like a studio or a place that's doing a lot of spraying. If you do a lot of spraying, if you've got lots of airbrushes in the 0.3 to 0.5 range, I think this will do slightly finer needles as well. This is something to consider. It feels really well made, I should say as well. It's very solid and very well engineered. It's a fun little novelty tool. It definitely works, as you've seen. And it can get you spraying again if you have trouble before you have to go on the website, order spare parts and wait. This could certainly work for you. I hope you've enjoyed that little video explaining some choices you've got if you do find yourself with a bent or damaged needle. So a neat little accessory there that could make your spraying life easier. Okay, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully this is a useful tool for you, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Subscribe for our latest videos.